Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Over 100 episodes, almost 40 different ethnic backgrounds, living in almost 30 different countries. In just 2 seasons, the Niqabi Diaries podcast has brought you the stories of Muslim women across the globe, women united in sisterhood by their commitment to the Deen of Islam. Welcome to Season 3 of the Niqabi Diaries podcast, where, inshallah, we will continue to bring you the stories of the women behind the veil. The Niqabi Diaries, our experiences, our perspectives, our voices. I'm your host, Salamah, and thank you for listening. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the Niqabi Diaries, Season 3. Alhamdulillah, we've got another sister this week, inshallah, to share her niqab journey with us. Sister, could you please introduce yourself for the listeners and tell us a little bit about what you do, inshallah?
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope everyone that's listening is at the best of health and iman. I'm Salamah. Alhamdulillah, I'm 24 years old. I'm from the UK. I'm excited for Inshallah's podcast, and I'm happy to be here. I hope everyone's well, inshallah, and I hope people benefit, even if it's just a little bit, inshallah, benefit from this. And just a reminder that, inshallah, remember our intentions, and this is for the sake of Allah only, and inshallah it helps you guys in your journey, inshallah.
Inshallah. So, sister, could you do us a favor and give us some of your Islamic background, inshallah, and tell us how did you get to start wearing the niqab?
Inshallah. Alhamdulillah, I started, so I'm raised in a Muslim family, but I started practicing around when I was 16, 17, alhamdulillah, and then alhamdulillah, I started seeking knowledge, inshallah, like from books, from internet resources, and from sisters that were joining classes. I took benefit from them, alhamdulillah. And my niqab journey started back in 2018. So it was after I got married, alhamdulillah. My husband is from London, so he was advising me about niqab. So prior to my marriage, I wasn't wearing niqab. After my marriage, that's when I started wearing niqab in 2018. And alhamdulillah, my husband was advising me. It was always a choice for me. Alhamdulillah, he was advising me, he was teaching me, some why we wear niqab, the benefits of wearing niqab, how it's been mentioned in the Quran. Alhamdulillah, my husband was a great influence to begin that journey. And to be honest with you,
I am from a white British white area, so where I live, the majority are either atheists or Christians. So what happened was I didn't actually tell anybody I was going to wear a niqab, and the reason I didn't
is because that includes my husband as well. So yes. I didn't tell anybody. And the reason I didn't is because, when you talk about things and maybe some of the worries of taking that step, sometimes you can talk yourself out of it. Yes. Or shaitan will come and there'll be whispers why you shouldn't do it, and I didn't want that. So to be honest with you, what I did was just one day, literally, just put the niqab on and went out of my house, and that was how it started. And what led me to that decision, sis, was because we have values. Everyone's got values, right?
Yeah.
And for me, as a Muslim, for all Muslims, Islam is the biggest value in our lives. How we live, how we treat others, how we behave, all those things and more. And for me, that is the biggest important thing in my life. So, Islam is the biggest thing. Obviously, families and other things come out of that. But for me, that was a very important value. Yes. So I didn't want to be controlled. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to be controlled by a society that changes so quickly in values.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Islam, alhamdulillah, it's complete.
Mm-hmm.
Alhamdulillah, Islam's complete. But in this, where I'm from, in this British culture, society, values changes. And I didn't want to be caught up in that. I didn't want to get caught up in that. And I certainly don't want to be controlled by a society doesn't really know its value itself, and it keeps changing over time. It's the biggest thing I can advise sisters is know your values, know your why. Inshallah, that will help. It's a very lengthy answer, but inshallah, I hope people benefit.
Inshallah. No, it's a beautiful answer as well. Okay, alhamdulillah, you decided to wear the niqab by your own choice, and you decided as well that, you would just put it on one day. So where did you get your first niqab from? And was it easy for you the first day that you went out with it? What was that experience like?
So, alhamdulillah, I bought my first niqab I bought it online. I can't remember which website or anything like that I got it from, but alhamdulillah, I got it online. And because I went back to the why I'm putting it on, I felt confident in that I was making this decision for me. The first day I went out with the club, I went out with a couple of my family and friends, and I remember the feeling that people were asking me why now, seeing me grow up and why not then, why now, such questions. And alhamdulillah, because I knew why I was wearing my niqab, the reason behind it, what made me reach that decision, alhamdulillah, I didn't find it too hard. I was confident in my decision, and I knew who I was and where my values come from.
Yes.
And regardless of whether people around me accept that or not, that's not on me, that's on them. So because I'm not responsible for how people view me as a person, I didn't feel, it felt good, and it felt really I just felt really free, if that makes sense. And I felt I wasn't being controlled by the society. So it was a really good feeling, alhamdulillah. And a lot of people felt that it was going to prevent me from doing things in my life, but alhamdulillah, if anything, it's opened more doors for me. So I'm always grateful for Allah, but I just remember it's a really good feeling, not feeling controlled by society, by anyone. You can try to please people, but you won't please everyone. What people want from you is different from person to person.
Exactly.
But what Allah wants from you, very clear, and it's complete, and it's not going to change.
Exactly.
That gives me a lot of security to know that I could, you know what I mean?
Yes.
In the sense that I just want to do what's right by Allah and not the people. If you please Allah, you will please the people. A lot of people, because your values, those values are how to treat people, the kindness, the respect, all those come in. So inshallah, if you please Allah, you will also please the people.
Yeah, subhanallah, it's so true. Okay, so alhamdulillah, after putting on the niqab, did you face any kind of criticism from any family members or kind of resistance? I'm assuming that your husband was quite happy, and how was that when he realized that you were wearing the niqab for the first time? How did your husband react when he found that you were wearing it?
Alhamdulillah, regarding obstacles from anyone in my family, from my immediate family, no, alhamdulillah. My family were very supportive. If anything, they just sort of asked me what made me want to wear niqab now. And alhamdulillah, my family were very supportive. If anything, questions were around more curiosity than any obstacles, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And sometimes it was around in gatherings. It might be a bit problematic. Obviously, I would wear it in gatherings and things, and some members might take it personally in the sense that we're your family, whereas they wouldn't understand. Yes, you are my family, but you're not my mahram. So it was around curiosity and not some people not understand what mahram means, but I can't show you my face, if that makes sense.
Yes,
so
yes.
That created some obstacles, but alhamdulillah, sis, again, going back to the why I put it on, it makes those things easier, alhamdulillah. And regarding my husband, alhamdulillah, I was mentioning my husband encouraged me to wear niqab. It was never voice, and he was positively encouraging me, and alhamdulillah, my husband was really pleased that I was wearing it. And I didn't want to, intentions are very important, sis, as we all know, and you know, I didn't want to wear it just because my husband said or wanted me to. I wanted it for the right reasons, and for me and for the sake of Allah. So alhamdulillah, my husband was really pleased. And yeah, alhamdulillah, going back to, if you know why you're doing something, a really clear understanding of why you're doing something, inshallah, it will make it a little easier. And I think my family worried about what I did achieve in life by wearing the niqab, because perhaps some people thought that it would close some doors, whereas actually Allah gave me more things from wearing it, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So could you expand on that a little, and on that same note as well, would you describe the niqab as being a barrier, and if so, in which sense?
Okay, inshallah, that's fine, sis. Inshallah, I will expand. So a lot of people thought that I might become in a very in an area there's not many Muslims at all. I could count how many Muslims there are where I live, literally. So I think some people thought that I might get hurt or verbal comments, or I might not be able to, career-wise, I might not be able to do what I wanted to do, what I went to uni for and things like that. So I think they were some of the worries, but from my point of view, they were very I'm not invalidating their worries. I understand some of their points, but for me, I thought my viewpoint was actually that if people can't accept me for who I am and what, my values, my Islamic values, then again, that's on them and not me, and that's not my loss, that's their loss, because that's the way I saw it. And alhamdulillah, I didn't get any comments or anything like that. It was just around curiosity by even in my community, it was around curiosity. And I live in a very small area, so almost the community is very close. So through knowing the community well, through them knowing me well, they know some of my values and who I am. So alhamdulillah, I really experienced any verbal abuse or physical abuse and things like that. It was around curiosity, and it was around some people making comments that I might not be able to go into the career that I wanted to. So specifically, I'm a social worker too.
Right.
Adult community services.
Inshallah.
Adult social worker. And I do wear niqab and stuff like that. A lot of people felt that, you can't become a social worker and wear the same niqab.
Yes.
And a lot of people felt that I wouldn't get a job in that area because of my decision to wear niqab. And actually, the opposite happened. Alhamdulillah, I do wear niqab at my workplace.
Mashallah.
Alhamdulillah, I have my own prayer room, my prayer space. So it opened a lot of doors, and educating people about why we wear it. And, by wearing it, it provokes a lot of curiosity and questions. And I like that. So first of all, alhamdulillah, all my colleagues are women. So that's the one thing. I wouldn't have probably taken a job because of that. So alhamdulillah, my manager, she arranged a room for me to pray in, and I have extra privacy. I have curtains to cover it, and then no one can see me and come in and out of it. Alhamdulillah, in terms of my colleagues and things, they were asking me about the niqab because we live in an area that there aren't many Muslims. Some of them had never come across a person that wears a niqab. From a social work point of view, it was really nice because they were learning about it and making, because sometimes as Muslims, it's like we have to end up fitting into this society. But it doesn't always work on our value basis. Islamic values and Western values, they don't always they're not always, you know, the same. In fact, they're not, you know, most of the time they're not the same. So it was nice that actually people around me were accommodating to my, like, accommodating me and my values and accepting it. And when someone does that, it becomes easier to talk about Islam, you know, and not just about niqab, about other things about Islam, you know, and it's really, and some people see wearing a niqab as oppression, or, you know, there's someone being controlled or whatever, you know, those sort of things. And I see it as quite the opposite. I think that if you're in a society which is telling you to do this, this, and this, and if you find I'm not going to be easy. If you find it in you to make that decision, inshallah, it's really and when you put Allah first, lots of other things will open, inshallah. And you know, for some people it's not around work and things. For some people it's just about knowing that this is their decision, this is their journey. And you know, we all have to own our own journey. You know, inshallah, we're all on different paths. We're all at different stages in terms of iman and things like that. And they are things that will fluctuate. You know,
of course.
fluctuates, as you know. It'll high one day, low one day. You know, it really will. But if you can get to a point in life where you know who you are, you know your values, you know what's important to you, you know why you reach certain decisions, inshallah. And even if you don't know the reasons why, even if you go back and reflect on it and learn from it why you've made these decisions in life, then inshallah you have a lot more emotional intelligence. Like you're very aware. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And for me, because I was very aware of the decision and surroundings on making this decision, it helps me a lot. But also, like, going back to the women, you know, the women in Islam, you know, obviously, alhamdulillah, I'm explaining my journey, but when you think about the women that in Islam and the great women, like, there's so many, subhanAllah, and you think what they went through, you know, their lives, their behavior, their manners. Inshallah, we should strive to be like them, inshallah, in our lives. And I think the biggest thing is around seeking knowledge, inshallah, because it's, you know, when you have a very clear evidence-based decision, inshallah, that will help you, you know, and this is what Allah wants. And you know what, it's so, not saying in an arrogant way, but it's so nice knowing that you've done something for Allah, and we always keep our intentions pure. So that's what we should always do, inshallah. We should always keep our intentions pure for Allah, and we should always strive to implement.
Yes, subhanAllah. That's really inspiring, sister. Especially because you mentioned that you live in an area which, you know, there's hardly any Muslim.
The thing is this, in the area that I live in, that because it's a very small community, everyone knows each other. So, alhamdulillah, I was very involved in my community. I would get involved in events and things like that. So, and people knew that well, inshallah, I hope people that I wasn't a bad person, and that me making this decision is not it's my decision. It's nothing to do with them, and in the sense that people should accept you. Like I said, it's not about me molding into what they want. It's about me. For me, it's about me waking up every day and trying to be a person so my community and my society, there were days where that hardships did come, but it's gonna sound respectfully, they're not that important to me.
Yes.
If that makes sense. And
Of
I mean
course,
that respectfully.
Yes.
Because if they cannot accept me, that's on them. That's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
And if they do not who I am, again, that's on them and not me. And I know it's not as easy as that's how I saw it. Because, you know, I know for some it might not be as black or white, but that's the way I see it. In the sense that I'm still not going to be those things and do those things. But if they can't see that, sis, I can't take that responsibility, and I'm not going to, because I'm not going to try and please people that want. Lots of people want different things from you. You know, I'm not going to try and be that person, because you'll get caught up in the circle in this vicious cycle, sorry. And once you're in that, it's hard to get out of it because you end up pleasing your intentions to do things, or you try to please people or try to fit into what they want you to be. Well, every person potentially want different things, and I don't want to get caught up in that. And I think that, and I know I'm not trying to go off topic, but I think that it's about my well-being here and what makes me well in terms of my religion, so spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, it's all them things, and I'm not gonna compromise that, my well-being, for someone else. Because at the end of the day, it's about trying to keep your iman, at a place where, inshallah, it's increasing. We don't, iman does increase, decrease, but we want to try to get to a point where, inshallah, hopefully, it's more stable than not, if that makes sense.
Yes, of course. It makes perfect sense, mashallah. So, on that note, sister, have you faced any kind of abuse for wearing the niqab at all?
SubhanAllah. So, regarding sort of, I do get comments and things, but, so, some people might, they might sort of say, how do I say this? So some people may, comment things like racial comments, discriminatory comments, and you know what, sis, I think that when that happens, the way I react is I try to be in a very careful way, because I don't want to react and feed into that.
Yes.
Because if anything, our reactions should be about trying to be patient and educating people about Islam, inshallah. So I think that I try my best, and I try very, very hard in trying to not give someone else the satisfaction of me reacting in a negative way, and in a way that affects how Islam is portrayed. Because obviously, none of us are perfect, but we do represent Islam, especially because with something you can't see it, whereas in the club you can physically see that
of course.
So it's a symbol of Islam. So you have to try. We have to, all of us, inshallah, we have to try to react in a way that's not gonna give Islam a negative light. And it's not okay for people to judge Islam by one person, but sadly there are a lot of judgments and things. So we've got to be careful to and how we react, inshallah, because we don't want people to judge Islam by one person's actions, But sadly we do live in a time where lots of judgments are made and things, so we've got to be very careful. But the thing is this, I doesn't really it doesn't make me, if anything, it makes me angry for the sake of Allah, but it's not personal, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because I'm angry because obviously I'm wearing this for Allah and someone else is making those comments. But it's not like I don't take it personally in the sense that it's just me, because there are lots of sisters that sadly do experience things like this. Does that make sense?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I don't take it personally. I hate it because they are mocking something which, Allah wants, from us, inshallah. So that's what I get angry about. But I don't get angry in a personal sense. I get angry for the sake of Allah. But if we're not aware of how we react, some people may have a more negative view of Islam. So I try my best to react carefully and in a way that doesn't affect Islam in a negative way, inshallah. I think what gives me some peace is when you know the Prophet, or not know, but when you have some understanding of the Prophet's life in terms of hardships, revelations, how things, when things happen, how things happen, and inshallah we look at the life of the Prophet. When you look at his sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it put things, the hardships, the the abuse, the discrimination, the oppression. It puts things into perspective more. And I'm not saying that people should dismiss struggles. You know, that is something that people need to work through and process and things. But it gives me comfort to know that it, you know, you're not the only one, if that makes sense. And that doesn't make things okay. It doesn't make any of the budgets okay. Like, and I really want to emphasize that it doesn't make it okay, but it gives me, Allah's gonna test the ones that are close to Him, and Allah's gonna, you know, Allah, look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah loves the Prophet and loves the Prophet, but look at the hard that he had to endure in his life, the oppression, discrimination. But look at the mannerisms of the Prophet, you know, how he reacted to events and circumstances, and we should strive to, you know, be more like him, inshallah. That's what we should strive for. But again, I want to emphasize the point, inshallah. So I don't want anyone to think that you should compare your problems to other people and not deal with them. It's good to hear other people's stories, and inshallah, try to it makes you feel not alone, if that makes sense.
Yes, of course.
But it doesn't acknowledge that you're hurt. That's not okay to experience all that. Do you know what I mean? Alhamdulillah, I think what gives me comfort is, like, I've repeated this so many times, so forgive me for this, but knowing your why, who you're doing it for, why you're doing it, what you're inshallah going to get from it, and not in this life, inshallah, and hereafter, you know. And we know this, we might not have everything in this life, and this dunya is not about getting everything in the dunya. Otherwise, what would be the point of Jannah, you know?
Of course.
But you should always remember that this dunya is just on a journey. Even when hardships comes, or even like with wearing a niqab or anything else in life, we always, inshallah, we keep it moving, and we are going to be viewed. You know, if we're, you know what, alhamdulillah, I don't mind being called strange or odd, because you know what, it gives me, it's in the hadith, isn't it?
Yes,
you know,
it is.
SubhanAllah, I don't mind strange in the dunya, believe me. I don't actually, it doesn't bother me being a stranger at all. Alhamdulillah, I don't want to be following the crowd and following what society wants, especially the one that keeps changing constantly changing. I don't want to be a part of that, because it's just about control, and I don't want to be controlled by society that can't even figure out what it wants itself. You know what I mean? It keeps changing. Islam is complete, and you know, that's what we have to remember and go back to. You know, Islam gives you a lot of stability in life, you know, not just from a religious point of view, but from like dunya, how we do things, transactions, how we treat our neighbors, everything is in Islam. Even how we even have to, like, how we should, you know, go to the bathroom, for example, how we clean ourselves, you know, everything's there. So it gives me so much security and comfort to know that that's there. Doesn't mean that we you know, we have to all, inshallah, continue improving ourselves, because the more knowledge we have, inshallah, and knowledge is only beneficial when it's implemented as well, inshallah. So, inshallah, knowledge we have, the more we can implement, inshallah, and the more we learn and love the religion, you know. And that's in all aspects, including the niqab and everything else. But going back to the niqab, I think that it's really, really important to educate ourselves. And even if we have days where we're like, we don't want to wear the niqab and stuff, we have to go back to why were we wearing it in the first place? Who were we doing it for? Who were we trying to please? Those sort of things. And
yes, absolutely.
So much this, like, it's so, I can't explain that, how, you know, for someone to, I feel so proud of sisters that wear niqab, and I pray for everyone that wants to take that step, inshallah. I ask Allah to make it easy for all the sisters. I mean, and I hope and pray that, inshallah, through knowledge, it will become easier, inshallah. But it does kind of come back to what's important to you. So you might have a value that's more important, but you need to figure out, as an individual, we need to figure out what's important to us and why. So, you know, that's really important in terms of taking that step. But it's so nice, and you know what, it's so positive to hear other people's stories and how it's not prevented them to have not compromise their religion, but also get the dunya as well. And that really makes me proud, sister. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, it's just like it's one big family, and it's like, you know, part of the ummah, we're all sisters, and we're all trying to do better, be better every day, and make even yeah, inshallah, talk about it. Why are you not there yet, or what can make it better for you to get there? What needs to happen? You know, asking these questions, or maybe your friends or people that, you know, the sister or individual trusts, talking about it, breaking that thought pattern down or thought cycle down to really understand your thoughts. Once we understand our thoughts, inshallah, we can change our behaviors and our actions, inshallah. So I feel really proud of all the sisters that have taken the step, but I feel proud for all the ones that are like, they wear niqab and they struggle. Some people wear the niqab, but they struggle and they get lots of comments and negative things from family and friends, etc. So I don't know everyone's stories. Everyone's on their own individual journeys, but it makes me proud to know that sisters have taken a step. It's a blessing that even if Allah gives you that thought, inshallah, because the more understanding we have of our thoughts, inshallah, we can change. And every day is about being better, you know.
Could you give some examples for sisters of how to act in a positive way when somebody does have negative comments about wearing the niqab?
Yeah, inshallah. So examples are like when people are some people, so abuse, you can take it very, very informal. Some people say it, some people it's very indirect, but it's there. But I think that in situations where, you know, in life, we cannot change views of other people. We can influence that change, and inshallah, if Allah wills, they may change their views and perceptions. But for some people, sadly, they do have a very negative view of the niqab, and people do sadly discriminate, oppress, and abuse sisters that wear it. But in that moment and in that situation, we can't. It's about trying to take the means to think about how we react in that situation. So an example, for example, in my workplace, someone discriminative, and they didn't want me to wear the niqab, and they felt that the reason was because they couldn't see my face. You know, I'm trying to say it in a nice way, but basically they were sort of saying that they can't see my face, and that describing me as like some like a ninja type of thing.
Right.
So in that moment, inside of anger, but if I react based on that anger, A, it's not going to be good for me. B, it's not going to be good portrayal of what Islam is. So then we spoke about it. You know, what's preventing you talking to me just because you cannot talk to me? What is it, and how can we make it better for you, a better experience for you? So then you're not feeling like you can't talk to me just because you can't see my face.
Yes.
So we spoke about it. I spoke about, you know, you're choosing not to wear the niqab, for example, and I'm choosing to wear it. But I have to work with you or try to get along with you. You need to respect me and my values as well. So we break it. Why is that person feeling like that?
Yes.
And what can we do about it? In some situations, they're not going to be like that, you know, which I understand. But some things, what makes you angry in those situations, what helps me is remaining silent, because, and I don't I say that carefully because you have to think about what you might say and potentially what the impact of that is going to be. So once you're calm, you can have a conversation about it in a calm and try to do it in a respectful way, inshallah. But when you're angry, sometimes you have to think about what's the harm and benefit, what's going to come out from this. Does that make sense?
Yes, of course,
But
absolutely.
to do that, you need to have a really good, and inshallah we continue, every day we should continue trying to do this, to really have a good understanding of our own self, our thoughts and feelings.
Yes,
If you
yes.
don't understand thoughts, it will just be reaction. It will just be, you're just going to be reacting. If we understand our thoughts, then inshallah we have more control of them. So really, whatever example I could give you, sis, it's around understanding our thoughts.
Yes.
If we don't understand, we might just end up reacting and reacting and reacting. But what is that reaction achieving?
Exactly.
Does that make
Yes,
sense?
absolutely.
So I think in whatever example, it's around knowing yourself, because you're not going to know the other person's thoughts. You're not going to know how they're going to react. But inshallah, we can try to understand and have more insight of our thoughts, inshallah. And once we do, we have more control in that situation. Whereas if you're not aware, obviously it's sad that we have to, some people, or we experience certain things with wearing a niqab. But once we have more of that control of our minds, what's going through our minds, then what comes out in terms of our behaviours and actions, hopefully it's more productive than counterproductive. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
I think it goes back to understanding ourselves. And the thing is this, we have to be really careful because we're wearing the niqab for the sake of Allah. So we don't want to do something that's going to portray Islam as something in a negative way, negative light.
Definitely.
Like I mentioned earlier, some people sadly do judge Islam on a individual's actions or a person's actions. And as Muslims, inshallah, we overlook each other's mistakes and shortcomings, inshallah. But not everyone can do that, and particularly perhaps not non-Muslims, they might not be able to overlook someone's mistakes.
Yes.
So we have to be really careful what and how we react, and if that's going to endanger you, put you at more risk as well. Some things you might, as hard as it may be, you might have to walk away from because you might put yourself at more risk.
Yes, of course.
We don't want to place ourselves in a situation where we put ourselves at more risk. And so going back to it, it's more around, based on how we react, around our thoughts and, what are we going to gain from it? And are we going to put ourselves at more risk, So we've got to be really careful on how we react, but always remembering that you should always try to be a good person. We have to be careful because sometimes you might want to challenge someone or you might want to ask them, why you behave in this way to me, like what have I done to you, etc. But it might put you at more risk, so be careful to understand where we are, our environment, and what our thoughts are. Does that make sense?
Definitely, mashallah. It's really good that you've said that, actually, and so interesting because we often, like you said, when you just react, you're not thinking about the consequences of your reactions. And it's part of our religion that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the patience is in the beginning. So when you're faced with a trial and a test, it's your instant reaction that is where Allah will judge you from, because it's how, it's not after you've realized, oh, I need to be patient. The patience is in the actual moment. I was going to ask you, sister, do you think that sisters who wear the hijab get treated differently from sisters who wear the niqab?
My honest answer is that I'm not sure, because I don't think it will be fair for me to comment just because that it might not be reliable, because because around me I haven't got Muslims that necessarily, I haven't got many Muslims at all. So around me, so I wouldn't know the difference, if that makes sense. I would like to think that people that wear hijab don't get treated to them, but I wouldn't be able to give a reliable answer on that because Does that make sense? Because I'm not sure.
Yes.
I would hope that people don't get treated differently. But from, I guess the only thing I can base that answer around is social media. Although I would like to think that people don't get treated differently, my assumption is that some people do, and that assumption is based on Instagram and just some of the things I see on that from hijabis and niqabis. Because some people that wear the hijab may not understand the conditions of wearing a hijab.
Yes.
So some people they may beautify it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I think in that sense, there's there's lots of discussion, judgment. So in some ways, from an Instagram point of view, I think people do get treated differently.
Yes.
The way I see it is just that it's about someone might know the conditions of a hijab, you know. So it's about, again, trying to make excuses for people and trying to educate Muslims around what are the conditions of hijab. You might not be ready to take the step of wearing niqab. Alhamdulillah, you're at the stage where you're wearing a hijab. So what are the conditions? You know, what are the conditions? It shouldn't be around attacking someone. You know, as Muslims, we're trying to help people and things with, do things really well, inshallah. But we have to understand that someone might not know the conditions.
Yes, exactly.
And other people may just not be quite there for whatever reason. So again, it's around breaking that point. You know, why do you feel the need to do this, beautify this, and how can we help you take that step where you're not having to beautify the hijab? People, as sisters, we know the struggles. You know, we know the struggles. So I hope that people remember their own journey of what struggles they had to face and try to make excuses for someone else.
And that's from my etiquettes as well, isn't it?
We have to be honest, but we have to also remember that we have to remember our own. Does that make sense, sis? So
yes, it does.
This is about supporting Muslims to become better Muslims, inshallah, better sisters, so we are strong. Just because we're wearing the niqab today doesn't mean that we're going to wear it tomorrow, the next month, next year, inshallah. We have to remember that. We have to remember that we wear the niqab for Allah, and we should, inshallah, help people. We should help people, inshallah, to become better Muslims. And remember that this is a journey. This change doesn't happen, well, it doesn't always happen overnight. If Allah wills it, alhamdulillah, of course. But change for some people can take a long time. So we have to be very, very careful. You know, you might see someone wearing a hijab incorrectly, and that anger might come in. But again, it's for the sake of Allah. But we have to be careful what we do with that anger. You know, and some people are not careful, and sometimes by perhaps making comments or giving your opinion, and it shouldn't be about, again, it shouldn't be about our opinion. It shouldn't be about Salamah's opinion. It shouldn't be about your opinion or another person's opinion. It's about what Allah wants. It's about what the Prophet, came down with. It's as simple as that. It's not about what I want. It's not about me. That's very dangerous. Very dangerous. It's about what Allah wants.
Definitely.
And we should try to help people get closer to Allah. But if we are attacking and if we are judging, that's going to discourage someone, and it might hurt them, and it might lead them to be more further away from Allah. And that's very, we are all going to be accountable for our actions. We have to take responsibility for our actions, what we do with them and things like that. We really do. But I think that, this is around helping someone. Change takes a long time.
Barakallah feekum, you've made such beautiful points, and I was just wanting to comment there on what you said about, we have to remember that everybody's on a different journey, and as Muslims we are here to remind each other as well, and we have to bear in mind that some people who do wear the hijab may not know the conditions of the hijab itself. So that's a really important point that you picked up on there, mashallah. So sister, I wanted to ask you, have you done any traveling with the niqab on itself?
Abroad, only in the UK, like traveling around different areas, but not abroad, sis.
Okay, mashallah. And have you met anybody who's been forced into wearing the niqab?
Have I met anyone being forced into wearing a niqab? Alhamdulillah, no, I haven't.
And what about somebody who's not allowed to wear it, but they really want to wear it?
I haven't met anyone physically. Some people have messaged me about it or DM'd me about it on Instagram, but I've not met anyone on a face-to-face basis.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. And lastly, sister, I'll ask you, what does the niqab mean to you?
What does the niqab mean to me? That's a big question. I think for me, it means it just means like everything to me, because the struggles, the hardships, the reason why I took that step, all of that. I don't say this lightly either, but wearing the niqab changed me as a person, changed who I am. My values became more clear and stronger. It opened so many. It's quite an emotional question, sis. It opened many doors for me, and it means everything, not just in the sense of wearing it, but lots of things around me became clear. You asked me the question, and I remember the journey to get there.
Yes, yes.
I keep saying because it's an emotion, it's an emotive, it's
Yes.
definitely very emotional, because it means everything, and it made so many things clearer, my values clearer, who I am as a person clearer. You know, me as a mum, and you know, just knowing that, you know, to take that step and not accept all the hardships, but to understand the hardships and to work through it, to process all that, means everything, because it's made me stronger as a person. And society can't control me, so it's given me a lot of freedom, in the sense that society cannot control me, and I'm gonna try not to fall the trap of being what society wants me to be, which is always changing.
Yes.
My focus is different, and it's around pleasing Allah.
Yes,
I don't say it lightly, and some people might be scared. It's just a niqab, but it's not just a niqab for the people that have had to struggle to get there.
Yeah,
the people that have made that decision, gotten there, it's just more than a piece of cloth.
Alhamdulillah. You're the first sister that I've actually spoken to who has worn the niqab after like being married, and that her husband was trying to encourage her to wear it. Like, whereas other sisters who've started to wear the niqab after getting married that I've spoken to for this podcast, their husbands actually, some of them didn't want them to wear it at all, so they came to it like by themselves, then had to convince their husbands. So it's mashallah, it's a nice refreshing angle to look at it from. Yeah, subhanAllah. Yeah, subhanAllah. Well, Jazakallah khair, sister. Thank you so much for your time today.
On a serious note, sis, I just really want to say to everyone that this journey is very individual. You know, it's an individual journey. Not everyone's journey is going to be the same. You've probably come into lots of sisters and had the pleasure of hearing lots of different stories. Alhamdulillah.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah,
Absolutely.
I share some of my journey, but everyone's journey is different. It looks different, different hardships perhaps, but this is about you and owning the journey.
Yes.
And remembering that this journey is just, we keep it moving. I know it's easier said than done, not as easy as that, obviously. But we always keep it moving, inshallah. We always move forward, inshallah. Our end goal is to reach Jannah.
Exactly.
That's our end goal. When you reach a goal, we have dunya goals, we have Islamic goals, but all of our end journeys, regardless of who I am, where I am in the world, what ethnicity I am, our end goal, inshallah, is to get to Jannah. That's our end goal. Inshallah, we all make those changes to get there, inshallah. Become better, inshallah.
Inshallah. Barakallahu feekum, sister.
Jazakallah khair for your time, sis. Thank you for being patient with me as well. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.